On the alien world of Xyrus Prime, there stood a great arena made of black stone. At the center of this arena, under the watch of thousands of eyes, was a sword buried deep in a block of glowing crystal. It was called the Star Fang, and it had been there for over 500 years. Legends said the one who could pull it free would gain the strength of 1,000 warriors and the right to command the armies of the galaxy. Many had tried alien generals, champions, even kings, but none had moved it even an inch. The sword stayed locked in place, silent and cold. It had become more than a weapon. It was a test, a symbol of power, and a source of pride for the alien races who guarded it. On that day, the arena was louder than ever. Banners waved in the wind, alien. Drums thundered, and the crowd roared with excitement. They had come to watch another attempt. This time, the challenger was different. He was not an alien warlord, nor a champion from the Empire's armies. He was a human. His name was Captain Marcus Hale, and he walked into the arena with calm steps and steady eyes. To the aliens, he looked unimpressive. His body was strong, but his kind had no history of lifting the Starfang. No human had ever been brave or foolish enough to try. Standing near the sword was Valera, the Emperor's daughter. She was tall, with silver hair and eyes that glowed faint blue. Her beauty was well known across the stars, but so was her sharp tongue. She smirked when she saw Marcus. "You must be lost, human," she said loudly so all could hear. "The sword is for real warriors, not for fragile creatures like you." The crowd laughed, their voices echoing across the arena. Some shouted insults, calling Marcus weak and foolish. Others jeered, waving their hands in mocking gestures. Marcus didn't answer. He simply stepped forward until he stood before the glowing crystal. The sword's black blade shimmered faintly, and its golden hilt was carved with strange runes. It looked both beautiful and dangerous. Marcus reached out and placed his hands on the hilt. The metal felt cold at first, then strangely warm. He could feel the weight of the moment, the eyes of the crowd, and the mocking gaze of Valera. As he tightened his grip, Valera tilted her head, still smiling. "Go ahead, human," she said with a teasing tone. "Give us a show before you fail." Her words were meant to bite, but Marcus stayed silent. He bent his knees slightly, braced his body, and began to pull. At first, nothing happened. The sword didn't move, not even a little. The crystal seemed as solid as a mountain. The crowd roared with laughter, and Valera placed her hand over her mouth, pretending to hide her amusement. Some aliens began chanting in mock support, repeating, "Pull, human, pull," while others laughed harder. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about the war, about the friends he had lost. He remembered his promise to them, that he would prove humans were not the weakest race in the galaxy. His hands gripped tighter, his muscles tensed, and he pulled again. This time, he felt something. It was faint, like the sword gave the smallest shiver under his touch. A few in the crowd noticed, and their laughter paused. Valera's smile faded just a little, though she quickly covered it with another smirk. "You're persistent, I'll give you that," she said, her voice louder now. "But the Starfang does not belong to your kind." Marcus ignored her. A strange hum filled his ears, a vibration that seemed to come from the sword itself. The crystal around it began to glow brighter. It was subtle, but it was enough for the Emperor, watching from his throne above, to lean forward in interest. Marcus's arms shook from the effort, veins standing out, sweat forming on his brow. The crowd began to grow quiet, the laughter dying away, replaced with whispers. Valera stepped closer, studying him with narrowed eyes. She had seen hundreds try before, and none had made the crystal respond. Yet this human had made it glow. She didn't understand how, and that made her uneasy. Still, she refused to show. "It will hurt yourself, human," she said. "And for what?" "A legend that will never be yours." But Marcus kept pulling. The hum grew louder, the glow brighter, and the crystal began to crack. It was a slow, sharp sound, like ice breaking under pressure. The crowd gasped. No one had ever seen the crystal change before, not in 500 years. Valera's mocking smile finally vanished completely, replaced by something else: curiosity, maybe even fear. Marcus opened his eyes, meeting hers for the first time. There was no smile on his face, only determination. With one last pull, the crystal gave another sharp crack, sending a small piece falling to the ground. The sword trembled in his hands. As if it was waking from a long sleep, the arena was silent. Every alien watching in disbelief. And then, just as quickly, the glow faded. The sword stayed locked in place, but the crystal around it now bore deep, glowing fractures. Marcus let go, breathing hard, sweat running down his face. He had not freed the sword yet, but something had changed. Everyone felt it, though no one knew what it meant. Valera stepped back, her expression unreadable, and somewhere deep inside the crystal, the sword's ancient power stirred for the first time in centuries. The arena was still buzzing from what had just happened. The glowing cracks in the crystal had changed everything. No one could remember the last time the Starfang had reacted to anyone's touch, yet the sword had trembled in the hands of a human. The alien crowd didn't know what to think. Some whispered that it was a trick, others that it was a sign, but many still laughed, refusing to believe what they had seen. Valera stood near the sword, her eyes locked on Marcus. Her smirk had returned, but it was smaller now. She stepped forward so the crowd could hear her voice. "Impressive, human," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You've managed to make the sword shiver. Perhaps it's afraid of you." The crowd laughed again, louder this time, eager to follow her lead. Marcus didn't speak. He stood tall, breathing slowly, his hands still tingling from the strange energy he had felt. He knew what had happened was real. The sword had responded to him, but that wasn't enough. He needed to prove beyond doubt that he could claim it. Valera circled him slowly, her silver hair catching the light. "You should walk away while you can," she continued. "The Starfang is not for your kind. You will only humiliate yourself." Her words cut through the air like blades. Every alien in the stands leaned forward, waiting to see if the human would break. Marcus turned his eyes toward her, calm but steady. "I'm not here for your approval," he said. The crowd murmured at his boldness. Few dared to speak to Valera in that tone. She raised an eyebrow, pretending to be amused. "You must enjoy pain, human," she replied, "because the Starfang will never leave the crystal for you." The Emperor, seated high above, lifted his hand to silence the crowd. His deep voice carried across the arena. "Let the human try again," he commanded. The crowd roared with excitement. Sensing a show, Valera stepped back, but her eyes never left Marcus. She wanted to see him fail completely, to see the tiny spark of hope in his eyes die out. Marcus walked to the sword again. The crystal seemed to glow faintly as he approached. The crowd noticed and began to quiet. He wrapped his fingers around the hilt. The warmth returned instantly, stronger than before. He planted his feet firmly and pulled. The crystal resisted. It felt as though a mountain was pressing down on the blade. His muscles strained. His breath came in short bursts. The hum in his ears returned, louder, deeper. The glow spread through the cracks, making them pulse with golden light. Gasps filled the air. Some aliens rose to their feet, unable to believe what they were seeing. Valera's lips parted slightly. She quickly crossed her arms, hiding her reaction. "You're wasting your strength," she called, her voice sharper now. "The sword is teasing you. It will not choose you." Marcus ignored her again. The hum turned into a low, rhythmic beat. It felt like the sword was alive. It felt like it was testing him. The golden light grew brighter, reflecting in the eyes of everyone watching. The ground beneath the crystal began to tremble. Dust fell from the arena walls. The Emperor rose from his throne. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. No one had ever seen the sword react like this. The glow reached the top of the hilt, wrapping around Marcus's hands like living fire. But then, just as suddenly as it began, the light faded. The hum stopped. The crystal held firm. Marcus let go, stepping back slowly, his arms aching. The crowd erupted into laughter again. Some booed, others clapped mockingly. Valera smirked, tilting her head. "See, human?" she said in a softer tone. "Even when it dances for you, it will not bow to you." Her words were smooth, but there was a shadow in her eyes now. She had seen the sword react far more to Marcus than to any alien warrior before, and that unsettled her. Marcus glanced up at the Emperor. "I'm not done," he said, his voice firm. The Emperor studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well," the Emperor replied. "You may try again at tomorrow's trials." The guards stepped forward to escort Marcus out. Valera watched him go, her thoughts racing. She told herself it was just curiosity, but deep down, she wanted to know why the sword had responded to him at all. Why a human could make it glow when even the strongest alien warriors could not. As Marcus walked through the gates of the arena, he could still feel the heat of the sword in his hands. It was as if a part of its energy had stayed with him. He didn't know why, but he felt certain of one thing. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. Far away, deep within the crystal, the Starfang pulsed once more, silent to the crowd, but clear to Marcus in his dreams that night. A voice echoed in his mind. "Ancient and powerful, return and claim what is yours." The next day, the arena was even more crowded than before. News of the human who made the Starfang glow had spread across the city. Merchants had closed their shops, soldiers had left their posts, and citizens from distant districts had gathered to see the spectacle. Some came to mock, others came out of curiosity, but everyone wanted to know the same thing. Was yesterday's event a fluke, or was the human truly different? Marcus stood once more before the crystal. He could feel hundreds of alien eyes on him, some filled with scorn, others with a cautious respect. He ignored them all. The only thing he focused on was the black blade resting in the golden hilt. It stood there, silent and proud, like a king who had never been challenged. High above, the Emperor watched from his throne. Valera stood at his side, her arms folded, her expression unreadable. She had told herself she would enjoy seeing the human fail again, but deep inside, a small part of her wanted to know what would happen if he succeeded. That thought irritated her, and she pushed it away. The Emperor's voice boomed across the arena. "Captain Marcus Halle, you have been given one more chance." The crowd cheered, their voices shaking the air. Some shouted for him to fail, others dared him to try. Marcus stepped forward without hesitation. The ground felt solid beneath his boots, but his heart pounded like a drum. He placed his hands on the hilt. The moment his skin touched the metal, the warmth returned, stronger than before. It was as if the sword remembered him. The hum began instantly, deep and steady. Golden light leaked through the cracks in the crystal. The crowd gasped, leaning forward in unison. Valera's eyes narrowed. She could feel the change in the air. It was not like yesterday. The sword's glow was richer, its hum deeper. It was as if it was truly waking up. Marcus pulled. The resistance was still there, heavy and unyielding, but with every second, the crystal trembled more. The hum grew into a deep vibration that rattled the arena walls. Alien guards shifted uneasily, unsure whether to move closer or stay back. The Emperor's face, usually calm, now showed a hint of concern. This was no ordinary attempt. Energy began to swirl around Marcus's arms, faint at first, then brighter. Golden sparks danced from the blade. The crystal's glow spread to the arena floor, sending ripples of light outward. The crowd went silent. It was as if the entire arena was holding its breath. Marcus gritted his teeth and pulled harder. A loud crack echoed as another chunk of crystal broke away. Gasps erupted from the stands. The sword trembled violently, its hum now a roar. Suddenly Marcus's mind was filled with visions. He saw great battles, alien worlds burning, and a shadow stretching across the stars. He saw warriors holding the Starfang, leading armies against unstoppable enemies, and then he saw himself standing on a battlefield, the sword blazing with light, A deep voice spoke inside his mind. "You have been chosen." Marcus's eyes widened, but he didn't stop pulling. The glow became blinding, forcing many in the crowd to shield their eyes. Valera took a step back, her heart pounding. The air felt charged, as if a storm was about to break. With one final heave, the sword ripped free from the crystal. A shockwave exploded outward, knocking the nearest guards to the ground. The stands shook, dust falling from the stone walls. Marcus staggered back, the sword in his hands, its blade glowing with pure golden fire. The hum faded into silence, replaced by a stillness so deep it felt unnatural. Every alien in the arena stared. Frozen, the impossible had happened. A human had freed the Starfang. Valera's lips parted in shock, her mind refusing to accept what she saw. Her mocking words from yesterday now felt like stones in her throat. The Emperor rose slowly, his voice low but carrying across the entire arena. "Impossible," he said. The word echoed in the silence, but Marcus did not look at him. He was staring at the sword, feeling the weight of it in his hands. It felt alive, its energy flowing into him like a second heartbeat. Then the crowd erupted. Some screamed in disbelief, others shouted in anger, and a few even cheered. Guards began moving toward Marcus, their weapons drawn. Valera snapped out of her shock, realizing what was about to happen. "Stop," she shouted, but her voice was drowned in the chaos. The sword reacted before Marcus could think. A ring of golden energy burst outward, knocking the guards away without harming them. The crowd gasped. Retreating a few steps in fear, Marcus looked up, meeting Valera's eyes. "Still think humans are weak?" he asked, his voice steady. For the first time she had no answer. The Starfang's glow reflected in her silver eyes. Something had changed, not just in the sword, but in her, and deep down, she knew nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The silence in the arena lasted only a moment. Then the chaos began. The crowd erupted into shouts, some screaming in fear, others yelling in rage. Alien soldiers in gleaming armor rushed toward Marcus. Weapons raised, the Emperor's voice boomed above the noise. "Seize him. The sword belongs to the Empire." Marcus tightened his grip on the Starfang. Its golden glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Every step the guards took toward him made the light grow brighter. The air around him seemed to shimmer, as if the sword was bending reality itself. The first guard swung a long spear. Marcus didn't even move yet. The spear stopped mid-swing. A burst of golden energy blasted from the sword, sending the guard tumbling across the arena floor. Gasps filled the air. The guards hesitated, looking at one another with uncertainty. Valera's eyes darted between Marcus and the Emperor. She had seen many warriors fight, but nothing like this. The sword was protecting him on its own. Her mind raced. If the Starfang truly recognized him as its wielder, then no force in the Empire could take it by strength alone. The Emperor's expression was dark. "Surround him," he ordered. Dozens of guards formed a tight circle around Marcus, weapons aimed. The crowd leaned forward, holding their breath. Everyone expected the human to be cut down in moments. Marcus spoke for the first time since freeing the sword. "I don't want to fight you," he said, his voice steady, "but I will if I must." The golden light flared again, casting long shadows across the arena walls. Some aliens in the stands shielded their eyes from the brightness. The guards rushed forward together. Marcus moved this time, swinging the Starfang in a wide arc. A wave of pure energy exploded outward, throwing the guards back without spilling a drop of blood. They hit the ground groaning, their weapons scattered. The crowd's shouts turned into stunned silence. Valera stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Enough, you'll destroy the arena," she shouted. But no one listened. The Emperor's rage was boiling over. He pointed at Marcus, his voice like thunder. "He is a thief, a pretender. Kill him." More guards charged. But the sword's power was faster. A golden barrier formed around Marcus, every strike bouncing off harmlessly. Valera's eyes widened. She had heard stories about the sword's ancient magic. Legend said it would defend its chosen wielder until death. Now she was seeing it for herself. Marcus glanced toward her. "Why are they so afraid?" "Of this sword?" he asked. Valera hesitated before answering. "Because whoever holds it commands more than armies. They command destiny," she said quietly. Her words were almost lost in the noise, but Marcus heard them clearly. The Emperor rose from his throne, his voice deep and cold. "If the sword has chosen a human, then the human must die before prophecy is fulfilled." The crowd roared in approval. The prophecy, Marcus didn't know what it meant, but the Emperor's fear told him it was important. The golden glow from the sword began to change. It grew sharper, hotter, almost alive. Marcus could feel it guiding his movements. The blade hummed in his hands, telling him to move, to escape. A vision flashed in his mind, him running through the city streets. Valera at his side, soldiers chasing them. He didn't understand why she was with him in the vision, but he trusted it. Without another word, Marcus leapt forward. The sword's energy propelled him farther than human legs should carry. He landed near the edge of the arena, swinging the blade once. The stone wall cracked open with a flash of light, creating an escape path. The crowd screamed as dust and debris filled the air. Guards tried to block his path, but the Starfang's energy pushed them aside. Valera stared, torn between her loyalty to her father and her curiosity about the human who had done the impossible. The Emperor's voice thundered behind her. "Stop him, Valera. Bring me the sword." She hesitated for only a moment before running toward Marcus. He turned as she approached, expecting her to attack. Instead, she stopped in front of him, her silver eyes intense. "If you want to live, follow me," she said. Marcus didn't have time to argue. The sound of boots and weapons echoed behind them. He nodded once, and they both ran through the broken wall into the maze of streets beyond. The arena behind them was still in uproar. The Emperor's shouts mixed with the cries of the crowd. And above it all, the Starfang's golden light burned brighter than ever. Marcus didn't know what awaited them outside the arena walls, but he knew one thing for certain. This was no longer just about proving humans were strong. Now it was about survival, and maybe something even bigger. Asterisk. The streets of Xyrus Prime were alive with noise and chaos. The echo of the arena's collapse still rang in the air. Alien citizens peeked from doorways and balconies, their eyes wide as Marcus and Valera ran past. Behind them, the sound of armored boots pounded against the stone streets. The Emperor's soldiers were in full pursuit. Their orders clear: capture the human and reclaim the sword. Marcus gripped the Starfang tightly as they sprinted through the twisting alleys. The golden glow of the blade drew attention wherever they went. It was like carrying a torch through a field of shadows. Every turn they took was met with shouts and gasps. Some aliens ducked away in fear. Others pointed and called for the guards. Valera led the way, her long strides quick and sure. She knew these streets better than anyone. "This way," she said, pulling him into a narrow side alley barely wide enough for two people to pass. They slipped through, the sound of the soldiers growing louder behind them. "Your Emperor really wants me dead," Marcus said between breaths. "He wants the sword," Valera corrected. "And if you die in the process, that's just a bonus." The alley opened into a marketplace. Stalls overflowed with strange fruits, glowing fabrics, and alien trinkets. The crowd here was thicker. Valera grabbed Marcus's arm and pulled him through, weaving between shoppers. "Blend in," she whispered. "That's hard when I'm holding the galaxy's most famous weapon." Marcus replied. The merchants stared as they passed, whispers spreading like wildfire. Suddenly, a voice shouted from the other side of the market, "There they are!" Dozens of guards poured in from both ends, cutting off their escape. Valera's eyes darted around. She spotted a covered cart, loaded with barrels. "This way," she hissed. They ducked behind it, and Marcus swung the Starfang. A pulse of energy erupted from the blade, knocking the barrels over. They rolled across the street, scattering the guards and buying them precious Seconds, they dashed into another alley, this one sloping downward toward the city's lower levels. The air here was thicker, filled with the smell of oil and steam. Pipes hissed overhead, and dim lights flickered along the walls. This leads to the Undercity, Valera explained. The guards won't risk following too far down. They think it's cursed. Is it? Marcus asked. She gave him a thin smile. Depends on your definition of cursed. As they descended, the streets grew quieter. The glow of the sword was the only bright thing in the shadows. Marcus felt its warmth in his hands, stronger now. Suddenly his vision blurred. He saw flashes not of the alley, but of a battlefield covered in smoke and fire. He saw himself standing with the sword, and beside him Valera. An enemy fleet hung in the sky, massive and dark. Then the vision was gone, leaving him breathless. You stopped, Valera said, looking back at him. Just saw something, Marcus replied, shaking his head. Her eyes narrowed. The sword is showing you things, she guessed. He didn't answer, but she could tell by his expression she was right. They reached a rusted gate at the end of the alley. Valera knelt and began working on the lock with a small device from her belt. Marcus stood guard, his ears straining for the sound of pursuit. Why are you helping me? He finally asked. You freed the Starfang, she said without looking at him. No one in my people's history has done that, not even the strongest warriors. If I deliver you to my father, he will kill you. And then the sword's true power will never be understood. The lock clicked, and the gate swung open. Beyond it was a network of metal walkways suspended over dark, rushing water. The sound was loud, masking their footsteps as they moved. The Undercity felt like another world. Steam vents hissed, strange machines whirred in the shadows. Marcus glanced at her. You're risking a lot, he said. She shrugged. Maybe I want to see how far you can go before you break. They crossed one of the walkways, but halfway across, movement stirred in the darkness below. Several large shapes rose from the water, glowing eyes fixed on them. What are those? Marcus asked. Undercity hunters, Valera replied calmly. They like fresh meat. The creatures climbed onto the walkway, their teeth glinting in the dim light. Marcus raised the Starfang. Golden energy surged from the blade, blasting the creatures back into the water. The glow reflected off the churning waves before fading. Valera gave him a sideways look. You're starting to get the hang of it, she said. He didn't answer, his mind still on the vision from earlier. Whatever threat the sword had shown him felt close, too close. They finally reached a small service tunnel. Valera ducked inside, motioning for him to follow. It's not far now, she said. Far to where? Marcus asked. To someone who might explain why the sword chose you, she replied. And if we're lucky, they'll know how to keep you alive long enough to use it. Behind them, the sound of boots echoed faintly through the Undercity. The chase wasn't over, but for now, they had a lead. Marcus tightened his grip on the Starfang. Somewhere deep inside, the sword pulsed again. It felt like it was waiting for something, or warning him that their real fight hadn't even begun. The tunnel was narrow and dark. The only light came from the faint golden glow of the Starfang. The air was heavy with the smell of rust and damp stone. Valera moved ahead quickly, her boots making almost no sound on the metal floor. Marcus followed close behind, keeping one hand on the sword. Every few steps, he glanced over his shoulder, expecting to see the Emperor's soldiers. They reached a small chamber lit by flickering lamps. Pipes lined the walls, dripping water into shallow pools on the floor. Valera stopped and looked at Marcus. We need to move fast, she said. Why? He asked. She hesitated before answering. Because the sword's light will draw more than just soldiers. Before Marcus could respond, the ground shook under their feet. A deep rumbling echoed through the chamber. The water in the pools rippled violently. Then came the sound, low, metallic and inhuman. Marcus gripped the sword tighter. What is that? He asked. Valera's eyes narrowed. That, she said, is not from this world. The wall behind them burst open in a shower of stone and dust. A massive machine-like creature stepped through, its eyes glowing red. It was shaped like a predator, with claws made of black steel and a body that seemed to pulse with dark energy. Marcus instantly knew it was the same shadow he had seen in his vision. The creature's gaze locked on the sword. Valera drew a curved blade from her side. "Stay close to me," she said. Marcus gave her a quick look. "Pretty sure it's the other way around." He replied. The creature lunged forward, moving faster than its size suggested. Marcus swung the starfang, sending a burst of golden light at it. The blast hit, but the creature only staggered for a moment before charging again. Valera darted to the side, her blade striking its leg. Sparks flew, but the cut was shallow. "This thing's armor is thick," she shouted. "Then we hit harder," Marcus replied. The starfang pulsed in his hands, as if answering his words. He stepped forward, blocking the creature's next strike. The impact shook the ground. Energy flared around him, forcing the beast back a few steps. Valera moved in, her blade slashing at its joints. Together, they began to push it toward the far wall, but the creature adapted quickly. Its claws scraped against the metal floor, sending sparks into the air. Then it opened its jaws and released a beam of dark energy. Marcus barely had time to raise the starfang. The golden light clashed with the darkness, filling the chamber with blinding flashes. The force pushed both of them back. Marcus's arms ached, but he didn't let go. Valera stepped beside him, breathing hard. "We can't take it head-on," she said. "We need to hit its core." "Where's that?" Marcus asked. She pointed to a glowing red spot at the center of its chest. "That's where all its power comes from," she explained. "Then let's end this," he said. They split apart, moving on opposite sides of the creature. It swiped at Valera, forcing her to duck and roll. Marcus took the opening, driving the starfang forward. The blade sliced through part of its armor, revealing the core. The creature roared, thrashing wildly. Valera leapt onto its back, using her blade to keep her balance. "Now!" she shouted. Marcus lunged, the starfang blazing with golden fire. He drove it straight into the core. A deafening crack echoed as the dark energy inside exploded outward. The blast knocked them both to the ground. When Marcus opened his eyes, the creature was gone. Only fragments of black metal remained, hissing with smoke. Valera pushed herself up, brushing dust from her clothes. "That was unexpected," she said. Marcus stood, holding the sword at his side. "I think it was looking for this," he said. Her gaze flipped to the starfang. "Then it won't be the last one we see," she replied. The ground rumbled again, but this time it was distant. Marcus frowned. "More of them?" Valera shook her head. "No, something bigger." They moved quickly, leaving the ruined chamber behind. As they walked, Marcus glanced at her. "You fought well," he said. She smirked faintly. "Not bad for a human," she replied. He chuckled. "Not bad for someone who called me weak yesterday." Her smirk faded into something softer. "Maybe I was wrong," she admitted quietly. The tunnel ahead opened into a massive cavern. At the center stood an ancient structure carved from black stone. It was covered in alien symbols, glowing faintly in the dark. Valera stopped and looked at Marcus. "This is where we'll find answers," she said. "About the sword?" Marcus asked. "And about why you were chosen," she replied. They stepped forward together, the starfang's glow lighting the way far above. The rumbling grew louder. Marcus had a feeling whatever was coming next would make the machine beast look small. But for now, he had something he hadn't had since arriving on this world, an ally asterisk. The cavern was vast. The walls disappeared into darkness. The air was cold, carrying the faint scent of dust and ancient stone. At the center stood the black stone structure, its alien carvings glowing faintly. The light from the starfang reflected off the polished floor, casting long golden lines across the walls. Marcus and Valera stepped closer. Every step echoed, as if the cavern itself was listening. The sword pulsed in Marcus's hands. It was not just a glow now, it felt alive, almost as if it knew something was about to happen. Valera reached the base of the structure first. Her fingers brushed over the carved symbols. "They're older than my people's history," she whispered. "They speak of a weapon forged to fight the darkness between stars." Marcus looked at her. "That darkness?" "I've seen it," he said, "in visions." Before she could answer, the cavern began to shake. A deep, distant roar echoed through the stone. Dust fell from the ceiling, and cracks split the floor. Marcus tightened his grip on the starfang. From the shadows beyond the structure, something massive began to move. It stepped into the light, a towering creature. Twice the size of the arena's gates, its body was made of black armor plates, and its eyes glowed with the same red light as the machine beast they had fought. But this one radiated power far greater. Valera's voice was low but steady. "This is a warbringer," she said. "They only come when a prophecy is close to being fulfilled." The creature's gaze locked on Marcus. Its voice rumbled like thunder. "The sword belongs to the void." Marcus took a step forward. "No," he said. "It belongs to the one who can wield it." The warbringer moved with surprising speed. Its massive claw swung down toward them. Marcus raised the starfang. The golden blade clashed with the black claw. The impact sent a shockwave through the cavern. Stone shattered, and the air filled with dust. Valera darted to the side, her curved blade slashing at the creature's legs. Sparks flew, but its armor was thick. "Go for its chest," she shouted. Marcus nodded. Already moving, the sword guided him, each step faster than the last. The warbringer tried to strike again, but Marcus rolled under its arm, the golden blade slicing a deep cut into its side. The creature roared, the sound shaking the ground. It lashed out with a beam of dark energy from its mouth. Marcus braced, the starfang's light meeting the darkness head-on. The clash lit up the cavern like a sunburst. The force pushed him back, his boots sliding across the floor. Valera leapt onto the creature's arm, climbing toward its head. Her movements were quick and precise. She stabbed at the gaps in its armor, forcing it to turn its attention toward her. Marcus saw his opening. The sword's hum became a roar in his hands. He charged forward, the blade glowing so bright it hurt to look at. With a single upward slash, he cut through the warbringer's chest armor, exposing a core of swirling dark energy. The creature staggered, but it didn't fall. Valera jumped down beside him. "Now together," she said. They moved as one. Marcus drove the starfang into the core while Valera's blade cut deep along the edges. The dark energy screamed. As it met the golden light, a massive explosion erupted, throwing both of them back. Marcus hit the ground hard, the sword still in his grasp. The warbringer let out one final roar before collapsing, its armor shattering into black dust. Silence filled the cavern. Only the faint hum of the starfang remained. Marcus slowly stood, breathing heavily. Valera rose too. Her silver hair tangled, her face streaked with dust. For a long moment, she just stared at him, at the sword, at the human who had just slain something her people had feared for centuries. Then, in a voice quieter than he had ever heard from her, she said, "I was wrong about you." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's a first," he said. She almost smiled. Her usual sharp tone was gone, replaced by something else: respect, and maybe even admiration. They began walking back toward the cavern entrance, the sword's glow lighting their path. The echoes of the battle still hung in the air. But now the silence felt different. It felt like victory when they stepped into the daylight outside. The city was in chaos. Word of the warbringer's fall was already spreading. Crowds gathered, staring at Marcus with wide eyes. Some bowed, others whispered his name. And among them, Valera's reaction stood out. She didn't mock him, didn't smirk. Instead, she looked at him like a warrior looks at another warrior, equal and dangerous. It was the same woman who had once laughed at him in the arena, but now her eyes held a priceless expression: shock, respect, and a glimmer of something more. And Marcus knew that no matter what came next, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again.